Hello, people of the interwebs, I am Viper for Life, and I know, it's been a while since I posted on my channel, but I've been working hard to get a better computer so I can make better videos, so you might have to wait a little bit longer, but that's aside from the point. So during a recent trip to the Big Apple, or New York City, we got a rental car that I quite enjoyed. And I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy wanting to hear about the rental car, so I decided to, hey, why not make a review out of it? Though to be fair, I have a podcast, and I kind of reviewed it there, so, if you want to listen to it there, do it. If you want to listen to it here, well then get ready, because I'm going to do it here. I'm going to put you all out of your misery. We got a Chrysler 300C, and no, it was post-refresh, the one with the bigger grille that all the owners complained about from a previous facelift, saying, oh, it needs a bigger grille and stuff. So we got the newest one that they have that isn't actually a new car, because it's a refresh. You get the idea, it's a facelift, and that's the one that we had. We had it in white, it had sat-nav, it had heated seats, which was nice. I mean, to be fair, we never actually used the heated seats, unless it was, jokingly. And it also had a heated steering wheel, which, consequently, we also didn't use. It was quite spacious. We have 3 big luggages. I mean, bigger than this. Bigger than the screen you're currently viewing it on. It's one of those... We had 2 that were like executive size, stuff like computers and backup and hard drives and stuff like that. It was really big. We had a second one that was like that, and then we had a third little carry-on thing. So the two luggages fit fine, and the carry-on also fit fine, which was quite nice. It was quite spacious. The ride. What's funny is when you come from an earlier car, like a 90s car or whatever, and then you step into a modern vehicle, the rigidity of the body is so much different to what I'm used to. It was funny because the ride in the 300, in comparison to my dad's Durango, it's funny because it's soft, yet it's soft and firmer at the same time. It's fairly weird because the seats are soft and the car, as they say, irons out the bumps. But then it also felt quite stiff, and it was really weird because I wanted to say that the car felt it was more comfortable than the Durango. But then I kind of couldn't because the rigidity of the body was stiffer than that of the Durango. So it was really off-putting because there was a difference in rigidity, meaning there was a difference in what I felt to be comfort. And so the seats were very comfortable. There was a lot of bolstering, and the thing about the bolstering is that I'm actually quite small. I mean, I might look broad-shouldered in the video, but I'm really not. So as I sat in the car, the bolstering actually kind of came up onto my arm, sort of squishing me in like this. So, the bolstering was good, and it'd be good for someone wider and slightly heavier than I am. But for someone like me, it's not hard to get comfortable, but it's very hard to get used to, because you're not, your shoulders aren't straight across, they're sort of curled in like that. So it was a bit weird. The touchscreen was nice, there was a lot of features, and apparently, the Yelp app that they have on their phones and touchscreens and stuff like that. Apparently, we had that app and the subscription was fine. It wasn't out of date or anything, which was odd because all the other apps that you could get a subscription for were out except for Yelp. So I don't really know what that was about. And now that I think about it, it's even more odd because the Chrysler already had a sat-nav, at least the one that we had. So, having Yelp and that kind of doesn't really make sense, though. There is probably going to be a difference in, A, in the sat-nav, and B, the places it picks up, and not to mention the distance at which the places are at. So, sitting in the back was nice, though it was nowhere near as exciting as sitting in the front because I kept messing with the car. And apparently, if you go deep into the touchscreen of the car, you can actually find a bunch of settings where you can change the appearance in the car that's on the sat-nav. Because a lot of modern Mopar owners that have the Uconnect systems with GPS know that you can change the little arrow on the screen to either the car that you have, or in our case, we could change it to a 300, but I changed it to a Viper. So you could either change it to a car you have or change it to a car you want. So. Yeah. You know what, though? I didn't see a dart in there, which was fairly disappointing, but what are you going to do? So, the sat-nav... How do I say this? I'm going to say it like this. You need to know where you are in relation to what the sat-nav says you are. I'm not saying the sat-nav is brilliant. There are definite flaws in there, especially when we were in, I can't remember where we were when we went to a museum. The Black History Museum, I think it was. And as we were trying to get out of the city, the sat-nav totally lost its mind. I mean, you know where on the sat-navs it says, you have the path, follow the highlighted route, designated route, whatever. When we turned it on, when I set it for, LaGuardia Airport, when I set it for that, when we were out, because we were in an underground car park. So I set it for that, we got out, and just a few lights down, the entirety of the sat-nav totally spazzed out. I mean, because you have the highlighted route in a lot of sat-navs. In fact, practically all sat-navs have a highlighted route. The highlighted route wasn't even on a road. In fact, it made up its own path. So that was tricky for me, because then I had to figure out where it wanted us to go in relation to where it said we should go. And because the highlighted route was all awful, the little car thing was doing this, and it was turning too soon, and it was going through buildings, and it was very, very confusing. The buildings totally messed it up. But other than that, the sat-nav did well. You can change it from being a basic, fairly boring 2D sat-nav to 3D buildings and inclination and stuff like that. It was really cool. So yeah, the car, very fast. In comparison to the Dodge Avenger we had about 5 years ago, was one of the last time we had a vacation. In comparison to that, the 300 felt faster. And you're probably saying, oh, of course, well, you had the V8, it was going to be. No, we had the V6. And it has roughly the same amount of power. I believe the V6 in the 300 had ironically 300 horsepower, as the Avenger had 283. However, the Avenger is a lot lighter than the 300 by not a ton, but not close enough, but midway there. So, the thing about the 300 is it felt faster because it had the new 8-speed transmission, so it shifted a lot quicker. The Avenger, on the other hand, felt peppier because the engine didn't have as much weight to lug around. So, out of the two, which one's faster? Even though the 300 is a lot heavier than the Avenger, I think because the transmission is so much faster and so much more refined, I think the 300's faster. The Avenger, though, definitely felt... Put it this way. The 300 is faster, but the Avenger felt faster. There's that difference in your sense of speed. So, if the Avenger lived long enough to get the 8-speed, then it would probably be a lot faster than the 300 by a good half a second or so in a 0 to 60 run. It just felt a lot peppier, it felt younger to me. So, the 300, apparently you could change the steering in the 300, and we had the C, so that's why we had all the heated seats and whatever. So I could change the steering from sport, normal, or comfort, and for the most part, we left it in sport. Though, there was this one time on a back road during the trip that I put into sport, and as expected, it tightened up the steering, and it felt more, you could read more of the road, as they say, so... You can hear more on the podcast, but I'm trying to kind of keep this a little bit brief. So, as I said in the podcast, out of 10, I give the 300 a 7.5. It's really rather good. I kept getting confused about how old the car is. At first I said it was like 11 or 12 years old, which I was correct on. Then I said 16 years old, and it's not. But for a decade and 2-year-old car, it's not that bad, actually. It doesn't feel that old. It feels like 5 years old, maybe 6.5, but it doesn't feel, a decade and a bit old. It's really held its value, I guess you could say, better than I thought it would. It doesn't really show its age as much as some other cars do when they get up to a decade old or so. So yeah, I'd say 7.5. For a car that old, it really doesn't feel it. It's a lot faster than I thought. It handles a lot better than some people make it out to be. it's really spacious. Oh, I forgot! We got a sunroof, so that was cool. And apparently the 300 has a little sun visor in the rear, so you press the button and that comes up, which I did not know it had, which was pretty cool. So yeah, 7.5 is what I would give it. It's very comfortable, it's very nice, but it is time for an update. We need a new 300. And that's why I only gave it 7.5. If it was a new car, I'd probably give it, if it was a new car and it was just as good and then some than the one that I rode in, I would probably give it, 9 out of 10. It really is more impressive than I thought it would be. So, there you go. That is my review on the Chrysler 300, and I will see you all later.